Hey guys, Darlene from Just BTC here again. Welcome and thank you for choosing to click on the video. I hope you're having a great day so far. I love being part of this platform and joining you all here. And I just want to give a quick shout out to all the people that have worked so hard to make sure that there's valuable content on this site every day for everyone. So thank you. And also I want to thank you for the opportunity just to share with you some valuable, that I think are valuable insights. So today I want to give you 4 quick points about problem solving from the inside out. We're all looking for solutions, right? And so I'm talking about becoming the solution. So number 1 is remind yourself of the power of choice that you have. There's a great quote by Viktor Frankl, a great story to read, but a great quote in there. He says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. It's in our response that lies our growth and our freedom. True, right? So what is he saying? He's saying that between stimulus, for example, the situation that might frustrate you and that space before you respond, that's where he's talking about, is in that space. That's where our greatest power lies, and that's in our power of choice. And we don't want to be giving that power away. We have the freedom of choice. We get to choose our attitude and our responses, what and who we listen to, how we're going to see ourselves, and we get to choose what we give meaning to in a situation, how we give meaning to a situation or circumstance. So wouldn't you agree that there's a choice in everything that we do, and the choices that we make today matter, because the choices I make, they make me. And sometimes the choices that we make are difficult, and they make our life more difficult, and some of the choices we make life easier. But one thing I do know is I may not always get what I want, but I always do get what I choose. So let's just look at a few examples. So for example, we could, here's one choice: we could keep banging our head against the problem. We could get mad or jump ship. But you know what? We're not part of the solution then. We're actually part of the problem. Or how about this? We could stay where we are. We could hope that things get better. Well, if there's one thing I do know, it's that hope is not a strategy. And you know what? At that time, that's when people give up and they're never going to win. Or we could become the people that use problems to use them as stepping stones to climb our way to success. Those are the people who gain ground. Those are the achievers who overcome. So when we make the choice to change our perspective from avoiding problems to growing from problems, it changes everything. The idea that whatever lies in front of us is the perfect curriculum for our growth, that includes everything, whatever lies in front of us. That includes problems, it includes everything. Those problems are there to assist us for our growth, because if it was all smooth sailing, would we grow? And as leaders, we can't afford the luxury of a wrong perspective, especially when it comes to problems and problem solvings, because our job is to lead, and leaders find a way for the team to win. And that's part of problem solving. And that's a great part of the reward in problem solving. And so there's one thing that we know about problems, is that they're part of the human experience, and they're going to be our constant companion, right? There's always going to be problems, and our plates are always going to be filled with problems. So how do we solve them? Well, I know that whenever we have a problem, the normal reaction we all have, and very normally, is the desire to make it go away as fast as possible at hopefully at seemingly low cost, or any cost at some point. But some problems we have are small, and those are like the little inconveniences that we have that don't require a lot of our focus or a lot of our thought or even a lot of our attention. And maybe it's in those times that we just really need to ask ourselves, what's required of me right now, and what is most important and urgent, and will this small problem turn into something bigger? Those are good questions. And yet sometimes smaller problems can be delegated. I always think if somebody can do something 80% as good as I can do, then let them do it. Because what will it do? It will help them grow. It will help them feel like they're part of the solution, and it's going to help you lighten your load. But then there's other problems that are pretty big doozies, and those ones are the leader's responsibility. Now, I didn't say that they had to do it alone, but they're definitely the leader's responsibility to lead. And these bigger problems, they do require much more thought and greater amounts of creative energy and effort. And they really, really can drain a person emotionally, because they're kind of consuming in our focus and our attention, simply because really, I found that the consequences of a problem is higher, or how do I say, if the consequences of the problem is higher than the going unresolved, then usually the bigger the impact it's going to have on the outcome. So basically, if we spend more time thinking about the problem than thinking into the solution, the worse off everything's going to be. So wasn't it Abraham Lincoln that said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening my axe? What's the point? The point is, there's great value in learning to problem solve and then taking action. But the thing is, problem solving is something that we do, but it's not something that we were taught. We weren't really taught to solve life problems. We were taught to solve math problems, but not life problems. So we were taught really, or we've learned with problem solving, is we look from the outside in. In other words, if we have a problem that our thinking, based on what we know right now, we're not able to solve, we begin to look outside for counsel, for advice, for knowledge, for experience from other people. And it is a great strategy. It works in the short run. And in those outside answers, we do get a solution and we get an immediate fix. And it's a quick fix, right? But is it really what we need? Is it really, when you think of problems serving as the curriculum of our evolution, and that meaning that the problems that we face in our life are not necessarily things that we need to seek a quick fix for, or a quick patch, or some duct tape and super glue just so that we can keep going down the same road a little bit longer. We really want to be able to find a more permanent solution from the inside out. So when I think of a quick fix, I think of a product I heard about for fixing a tire. And it would be great in the middle of the night or when you're in a rush, but it really is, it's a can, and it's filled with this high pressure gas that you just inject into your tire, and it would expand inside into this film or substance that would just fill the tire, and wherever that small leak, like a nail hole or something was, it would just fill it, and ta-da, you're on your way, it's fixed. And so you can actually drive down the road a little longer, maybe another 80 to 100 kilometers, and the idea is to get you safely to a repair shop. And a spare tire would do the same thing, but what I'm trying to say is it's a temporary fix. And the trouble is, sometimes when we get a problem fixed and we can carry on, it's easy to forget about it or ignore it. And by putting it off, maybe putting off taking the time or the investment, the money necessary to really solve the problem, which would require removing the tire, right? And actually patching the hole permanently from the inside out. Because I think we would all agree that a short-term outside fix, it might be what we need in the beginning to stop the leak, but it's not the long-term internal solution that might be needed. So the word problem, if we were to look at it, I'm sure we've all assigned our own meaning to problem, but when we actually look at what problem means, it means to put forward. That's what it means. We put forward, a problem precedes a solution. And we could look at this and say that putting forth the problem is what's necessary for us to move forward into the land of solution. And that's what we all want, right? Is solution. Einstein, he said that the significant problems we face in life can't be solved at the same level of thinking that created them. The point I want to bring out here is that we have a certain programming in our thinking that has gotten us to where we are now. And when we look at these, we kind of, well, we look at these problems and we see that they're on this level of thinking, and we know that we need to go above that level of thinking in order to solve the problem and move forward, right? So how do we move forward? We jump right into the problem. We jump right into the middle to discover what exactly the problem is. Einstein said it. He said, it's in the middle of difficulty where opportunities lie. That's part of the inside out thinking. We really do need to, we will find the opportunities when we get into the middle of the difficulty. Isn't it incredible that when you look back on your life and see that when your back was really up against the wall, that's when you found an answer? Because necessity really is the mother of creativity. It really forces us to grow, and that's where we create our best work. But the thing is, we can actually accelerate that process by getting ahead of it, by intentionally getting inside of it, into the middle of the specific problem that you're facing. And our problems come before us. They precede us with a causative purpose. And then we need to match that causative energy, that purpose, by seeking not to be the solution, not a solution, but to become the solution. And really believing that there is an answer is definitely an asset in becoming the solution. It was Gandhi that said, be the change that you want to see in the world, right? We have the opportunity to turn problems around and be the cause rather than living the effects. I always say, you know, we either live our lives and run our businesses by default, whatever happens, happens, or we choose and we make choices and become the cause and live by design. So lastly for today, the last point is, what is solution? So if I was to look at solution and what it says, I mean, again, in the Latin is the action of separating or breaking down, distilling the parts of a whole so we can gain an inner understanding of the problem that has come before us. We enter into problem solving, into solution-based thinking, by separating the different parts of the problem, which allow us to tackle the problem from multiple different angles. And it allows us to put all of our concentrated thought, all of our resources into one area, and then taking on the problem in smaller chunks. Like the idea of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And once we separate ourselves from the problem, then we can really start understanding the problem objectively and start thinking powerfully and creatively. Because where you begin to separate or break down and distill our thinking, then we can carefully and thoughtfully make a decision. And that's what we need to make, right? Is a decision. So I want to really show you how to separate the parts and really look at, what story are you believing or telling yourself? Because the reality is, when we look back in our lives, I know we may want to look at different parts of our life and wish we would have done things differently, right? I'm sure we all have regrets, but the thing is, what if we were able to cut through the noise and make the best decision possible that we can at the time that it's required to make it, and not have to have regrets in our decision? I know I want to be able to look back in my life and know that I did the best with what I had. I did the best that I could, right where I was. So quickly in review, our 4 points were: make the choice to see our situation as an opportunity to grow and get better, and understand the purpose of the problem and recognize that it precedes a solution. And 3 is, we need to really get into the middle of the problem. That's where opportunities for growth are. And number 4 is, we can separate the parts and find and become the solution. Now, in all of this really lies a really amazing learning model for problem solving that I call from here to there, because where are we? We're here. Where do we want to get? There. And so this learning model of problem solving is a great strategy that I really want to take you through. I invite you to a free, well, it's going to cost you your time, but I invite you to just a 1 hour free online Zoom meeting where I share this model of problem solving with you. And it really is a great strategy. And so go ahead and click on the link or send me a message but you know, I really, really want to help you with your problem solving from the inside out. So I hope you'll consider joining me. And until then, have a great day and be well.